Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. Real quick, just as a reminder, the Camping for Hope effort that was scheduled for tomorrow has been rescheduled due to the rain for Saturday, December the 9th. So this is an incredible community effort, as Jamie Bates talks about. It's a great way to bring community together around the homeless. And they feed them and provide them a care package, and the focus is on saving their lives during the cold winter months. So if you can participate, look up the effort Camping for Hope. I think you'll be glad you did, but it's been rescheduled from tomorrow to Saturday, December the 9th. By the way, I am so thrilled to have access to Jeff Duncan. He was someone I really enjoyed working with when I was president of Nolan Media Group in New Orleans, and he has won every award you can win. He's written several books about the Saints, including the definitive book about Sean Payton and Drew Brees, and he just sent to the printer, as we've discussed several times on this show, the definitive book on Steve Gleason, in partnership with Steve Gleason, to tell his story about ALS. But it's not a book about ALS; it's a book about life, and it's going to be a bestseller. They got the top book publisher in the country, and can't wait for it to come out. I think it's like end of March, April next year. You'll be hearing a lot more about that. So now let's shift gears and move over to my friend Richard Cross, who is a host of SportsTalk Mississippi, and just a good friend. How you doing, Richard?
Ricky, good to see you. Hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving and kind of transitioning toward that Christmas time of season.
It is, man. You know me. I love the outdoors. So for me, I had this is an off year. What we do is we'll cook here at the house one year, and the next year we don't. The year that we don't is when my kids actually go spend time with their in-laws, and it's hard to get everybody together and split time when you got a bunch of grandkids. You know that. So this was the off year. So I had lunch with Ann and her family at the Beau Rivage. We had a terrific lunch, I might add. It was really, really good. One of the better eating out Thanksgiving lunches I've ever had. Of course, during the lunch, I'm just watching Ann, waiting for the nod when she will tell me, okay, it's okay to go now. I grabbed my son Jordan, and we headed to the Mississippi Delta, where I spend a lot of my time this time of year. I love being there. And, the hunting's fun, but the camaraderie and just being in the Delta, that's what this time of year really means for me. That's for sure.
Yeah, but it's a fun time of year. My 11-year-old son has decided that he likes to hunt. And so, afternoons are tied up for me during the week. So we're kind of limited to the weekends, and so sneaking out on Sunday afternoons and sitting in the deer stand. Although it was this past Sunday, temps were in the, I don't know, maybe upper 40s. There's a little bit of a front blowing through, and that wind out of the north. And we sat there for, I don't know, about an hour. He's like, you think we ought to go now? I'm like, that'll be fine. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Certainly quality time.
Well, we have a great setup. So at some point, you and your son ought to come join us. It's not that far of a drive for you. We're in Itabena, Minter City, and Chula is where the three farms are that I lease, and it's fun, man. I love being out there. It's a family thing, and I've got some of my best friends that are involved with us, and it's a small group, and we got a lot of acreage, and it's a lot of fun. We duck hunt and do it all. What did you do for Thanksgiving?
We hosted. So my wife's family, on her dad's side, he grew up in Port Gibson and had 4 brothers and sisters, and so big family. And when his parents were still alive, they hosted Thanksgiving every year, and the entire family just kind of congregated in Port Gibson. We lost them a few years ago, and our big family Thanksgiving just kind of went away. And so last year, Jane's dad said, hey, would y'all want to host Thanksgiving? We're like, sure, why not? Jane loves to throw a party, and she's elegant and graceful doing that. And we had, 35 or so last year. This year we were up to 50 people. So we had a big spread.
Wow.
And I thought this was going to be an egg bowl, non-egg bowl. It's, if it's in Oxford we're hosting. This appears as if it's going to be an annual thing. So it was good. We had a great crew. It's kind of cool to see cousins who don't see each other a whole lot get to know each other and interact and have fun. And I don't know if I'm going to do the turkeys forever, but I was proud of how they turned out this year. I smoked 4 15, 16-pound turkeys, and they turned out great.
That's a huge undertaking. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I know it's unnerving, especially when we have 50 people to feed. It's unnerving to do something like that because you want it to be the best it can be because you got a lot of critics, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And everybody was very gracious. I've done it several times, and so I felt good about my process, but there's always that moment, when you lift the lid on, I've got one of those big grills that looks like an outdoor propane tank. It's got, 2 doors that fold up on it. And you lift that grill door and you peek in and it's like, okay, it's going to be all right. And I looked in and it was like, that's a little darker than I wanted it to be on the outside. And that top edge was a little dry. That's just, it's on a smoker for 6 hours. It's going to happen that way. But once you got into them, they turned out great. It was a lot of fun.
Well, listen, you guys have done a great job of covering the Richard, not Richard, the coach Levy hiring.
Thank you.
But everything around the hiring of that coach is different for Mississippi State. The sort of the 2-day welcome and the way he came in and the speed by which they actually made the hire because they had to because with the transfer portal and all the other issues, the commitment deadline and all these other things, they couldn't waste any time. But, boy, by all measures, it looks like they made a terrific hire.
Yeah, I think so. Jeff Levy is an innovative offensive guy. He's still young, at least in the coaching world. By that standard, I'm going to say late 30s is very young. I'm going to stick with that. He is familiar with the state of Mississippi because of his time as the offensive coordinator for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss for a couple of years. First 2 years that Lane Kiffin was at Ole Miss, he was the OC, and the offense was good. He went back to his alma mater, Oklahoma, when Brent Venables got that job. Year one, that was kind of a transition year for their entire program at Oklahoma. And so, some bumps in the road. And there were Oklahoma fans like, you got to get somebody else. They were really good offensively at Oklahoma this year. And then you think about the existing relationship between Zach Selman, the athletics director now at Mississippi State, who came from Oklahoma. So there was a relationship there. I think it made the process easier. Look, Ricky, I've said on a number of occasions, and I feel like people kind of look at me funny when I say this. I think it is harder to hire a good football coach than it has ever been in college. And there are a few reasons. The expectations everywhere are higher than they have ever been. There is an expectation that you can, even if you inherited a bad situation, you can flip the roster in a year, certainly in 2 years through the transfer portal. Everybody's paying a lot of money. Jeff Levy's now a first-time head coach, and he's going to start out at $4.5 million a year. He's got a 4-year contract that's, mostly guaranteed. Now, that's not like top of the sport money, but I feel like we're playing with monopoly money when we talk about coaches, and we've lost like complete track of how much money $4 million is. We were talking about it on the show yesterday afternoon. All in, benefits, extra money, appearance fees. Jackie Sherrill in his first year at Mississippi State back in 1990 made about $125,000. Jeff Levy in 2023, 2024 is going to make $4.5 million in his very first year. But Mississippi State also appears to be kind of doubling down on its commitment to success. They have been very, very active publicly over the last month in kind of rallying the troops when it pertains to their collective, to raising money to use for NIL, which is just pay for play. We know what it is now. The fact is, you either got the money to do it or you don't. And Mississippi State had, while their collective had been funded at a reasonable rate, and there was money to do the things that they felt like they needed to do, it wasn't as competitive as it needed to be with its peers in the SEC. And they've made a really, really big push over the last month, and all indications are that they are getting to that place where they are competitive in the way that they need to be. And so a lot of momentum. And what a quick turn of the page. Disappointing season, fire a coach, lose the Egg Bowl, bowl streak ends, everybody's down, and then boom, you hire a new coach. And what do you get? You get hope. That's like the greatest drug ever for a sport fan. There's winning and there's hope. And those are like the greatest highs for a sports fan. And Saints got both of those right now.
And when the jet arrived, you got smoke, you got fireworks, and it was a big sort of dramatic turning of the page in a very significant way for Mississippi State football. Hey, when we come back, excuse me.
Now you got to go win.
You got to go win. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Richard Cross from SportsTalk Mississippi. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have my friend Richard Cross, who's a host of SportsTalk Mississippi, and we were talking about the hiring of Coach Lebby and how the Mississippi State administration is really working hard to turn the page rapidly from what was a very difficult season. You were talking about the collective, and I get it completely. They got to play. They got to play in that league. And I was reading a story just yesterday, Richard, that talked about when a quarterback hits the transfer portal, what the expectation is in terms of what he expects to get coming into, and once he gets in the transfer portal, we're talking about $1 million+ dollars. I mean, it's changing whether kids go pro or not, because in some cases they might be able to make more money in college football. Did you ever, in your wildest imagination, I think it's a good thing, incidentally, that college players are having the opportunity to benefit, but did you ever in your wildest imagination think it would turn out the way it did?
No, I mean, we've gone from threatening the idea of the death penalty for, a player getting a car or a few $1,000s to openly talk. I mean, it was Matt Rule, the head coach at Nebraska, who's been in the NFL. He's been at Baylor. He was at Temple. He's been successful everywhere he's been. And he just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. He's like, and he was talking to his people, to Nebraska people. He's like, look, you want a quarterback in the transfer portal, you're talking $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million. That's what a good quarterback is going for in the transfer portal. And that's not for the remainder of his career. That's per year. And so it's a great gig if you can get it. I mean, if you can be a 5-star quarterback coming out of high school. And here's the thing. I mean, loyalty has gone out the window, right? And it's hard. If you're a fan, it's really easy to get frustrated with a player who starts at your school and leaves, right? But that has become a very hypocritical stance to be frustrated with a player for doing that, because you also get frustrated with the coach who does that, who leaves and goes to another school. But then what do? You go try and get the best coach you can, and you don't care where he is, and you're trying to bring him into your place. And, oh, by the way, you're rating group of 5 rosters or other Power 5 rosters and taking their players and bringing them in. So if you're playing this thing perfectly, I'm not suggesting this, I'm just saying loyalty's out the window. As a highly recruited player out of high school, you're going to get paid initially. If you're, let's say, Ricky, you're a 5-star quarterback coming out of St. Stanislaus. You're going to get paid coming out of high school. And then maybe you don't play your freshman year. Maybe you redshirt that year. So whatever the agreement is going to kind of carry over. And then you play your 3rd year. And you're actually a good student in this process as well. All right, so your 3rd year, you play and you play well. So now your options are either I can go in the transfer portal and get paid big for a second time, or the school that I'm currently at which I'm currently attending, is going to have to up the ante. And because you've been hitting it hard academically and you've got all this help, you've graduated. So you have a free transfer where you don't have to sit out. And if you've already transferred once, you can grad transfer. I mean, you could theoretically have 3 big paydays as an elite college athlete. Is the system good? No, not at all. It's a good time to be a college football player. At some point, I feel like they're going to somehow wrap their arms around this But this is a function of the NCAA burying its head in the sand for so long about the fact that the game was changing, not recognizing or not being willing to acknowledge how much money was being made in all parts of the sport on the backs of these student athletes. Now, long-winded answer. Last thing. This is the last part of my soapbox. I wish we could get to the point where we do recognize that there's value in the education itself. Because whatever you're getting paid on top of this, there's also a scholarship and books and room and board and activity fees and stipend and cost of attendance. Like, that is worth more than it has ever been worth. And if you disagree, think back to the last time you wrote a check paying off a student loan.
Right. No doubt about it. I was an Auburn fan because my son went to Auburn, and we enjoyed going to Auburn games, enjoyed the environment of Auburn games. I was a Bo Nix fan. But, he was stuck in a situation that wasn't a good fit for him, and he left, and you saw what happened to Bo Nix. So there's another side to this. It's not just about the money. It could create incredible opportunities for young men who may not be a good fit in wherever they are. But there's so many incredible stories that will come out of this, and it will be very interesting to see where it all lands ultimately. And can they, once the genie's out of the bottle, can they put it back in? That's the big question.
Well, I think the thing that scares athletics directors the most, but also is the most likely outcome, because this idea that fans are going to pay millions of dollars every single year for the sole purpose of buying players, I don't know that that's a sustainable model.
Yeah, it may not be.
It is, but not everywhere. But I think we're headed towards some sort of revenue sharing model when it's all said and done. And that's scary for athletics directors and athletics departments.
It really is. It really is. There's a lot more we could talk about. We're at the end of our time together. But I did some checking this morning on the Thunder and Lightning podcast that SuperTalk has. Mm-hmm. Through just recently, we're talking about 1.9 million downloads. What a tremendous success.
Brian Haydad has done a phenomenal job with that. It is, your word earlier on those books was definitive. It is the definitive Mississippi State podcast, and give it a listen. Haydad and Robbie Falk are great on there.
Yeah, SuperTalk continues to hit it out of the park, too. Hey, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Ricky. You as well.
You bet. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great week, and stay safe.